Hi, Aquarius Sun and Rising. Welcome to your September 2025 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, this is a big month. I'm going to get right into it. As we begin the month, Virgo is the season that we're in. The sun is in Virgo. And we've already had a new moon in Virgo. So, that area was activated for you. I'm saying that in the past tense, but if you're listening before August 22nd, that's coming up. Be very intentional with that new moon because it's at 0 degrees. So that is the ultimate seeding point. And then we're going to have in September, the solar eclipse at 29 degrees, the last degree of Virgo. So that could be an instant manifestation. So Virgo for you is the 8th house. The 8th house in astrology is the house of Scorpio. You just happen to have Virgo in that particular sector, but it will carry those scorpionic themes. So other people's money, that includes inheritances and, insurance payouts. I would even say anything like dividends, but also like spouse's money, stuff like that. So the opposite sign of Virgo is Pisces, and that is your second house of earned income. And on the first of the month, Saturn goes back into Pisces. So you had Saturn in Pisces for a few years. An example of Saturn in the second house would be somebody who is maybe downsizing. Maybe the second house is the money that you earn, but it also can be your possessions. So somebody who is kind of like getting rid of a lot of their possessions, and they're planning to downsize their home as well. But it can also be a salary reduction, or maybe somebody who's out of work. But like giving the example of somebody who's retiring, they also may be starting to work part-time and they're not making as much, or they're just totally retired and they're relying on their pension or their Social Security, and it is less than their salary. So it's restricted in some way. But that might have been a temporary thing, and that can happen to people for any age. And Saturn is kind of like, okay, you've got to tighten your belt again, or you have to restructure your finances. Saturn is about structure. You might have to restructure something along those lines. On the second of the month, Mercury goes into Virgo, into that 8th house, and that Mercury can be documents, and it could be something connected to a will. Or if you're getting divorced or are divorced, what do they call that? Child support agreements that might have to be changed or what have you. Now, Mercury has gone direct. It was actually retrograding in Leo. So that isn't necessarily about something being done over again, but there might be something new that is emerging. You might be studying something of a metaphysical nature, including astrology. Aquarius is associated with astrology, by the way, the tarot, or any other metaphysical subject. On the 6th, Uranus, your ruler, goes retrograde at 1 degree of Gemini, fellow air sign. Okay, well, what can that mean? Well, I want to ask you, and this would be starting in late May, when this may have, this is when Uranus went into Gemini. And of course, it will vary from Aquarian to Aquarian in terms of your chart. But did you meet somebody and it was like an instantaneous attraction to that person? And because when Uranus is in your 5th house, you may have love at first sight. You may have this sudden like spark, but then it could like suddenly leave. Fifth house isn't the house of commitment, by the way. It's a house of, falling in love. And sometimes people have that instant connection. And we've all heard about those stories where they laid eyes on someone and they said, okay, I'm going to marry that person. And they may have even married them within months. And even if the marriage breaks up, they could be married for 20 years. But they met. So there was like this suddenness about their meeting, maybe an unusual set of circumstances. When Uranus is retrograding, it's like kind of like the less charming aspects of Uranus. So the positive ones are more like um, electricity, intuitiveness, quirkiness, this kind of originality, freedom. When it's retrograde, it might be erratic. So, something that is free is nice, but if it's too random and erratic, you can't count on it. So it could be something like that, and it's unpredictable. I mean, you want your relationship to have some kind of element of surprise sometimes, so that it's not stale. But this is like chaos. This could be chaos in terms of like actually establishing a relationship with someone. So keep that in mind, that your love life, if you're single, could be a little bit up and down, or just feeling off in some way, unstable in some way. And same thing if you're an artist and you tend to have a certain steady stream, you might have like ups and downs with that. But it's not, I shouldn't say ups and downs. It's mainly that it could be inconsistent. On the 7th, on the 7th, we have a lunar eclipse in Pisces. So that is that second house of earned income. So I just told you that Saturn retrograded back there. So you could be experiencing a breakthrough monetarily, where something really finally gels for you financially, and you have a windfall. It is possible for some people that area of life is triggered in a way where you have to let go of your income. This is an example. When I mentioned retirement, there could be Aquarius people. They may have plenty of money, but they're a fixed sign. And they may be like very hesitant to let go of their main source of income, or something that is, maybe it's for emotional reasons that they have just kind of grown attached to. And the universe is doing that, but understand that it's for your highest good. There's something else out there for you that you might not currently see. A year from now, you might look back and say, oh, thank God, now I have all this time to do these things I've always wanted to do, but I was so scared to take that plunge myself. And the universe kind of helped me out a little bit. On the 18th, Mercury goes into Libra. So that fellow air sign, and that is the 9th house. If you have travel plans, you might be getting your passport, getting all your ducks in a row in terms of your ability to travel and stuff like that. You could be researching, where you want to go, making reservations, travel reservations. Maybe you're enrolling at a university. Maybe you're teaching at a university, or studying some kind of religious subject. Maybe you're going to book a trip to India and study in India, study yoga in India. On the 21st, the solar eclipse at 29 degrees of Virgo in that 8th house. Yeah, this is like a rebirth for you. Back in March, you had um, this is like the phoenix rising from the ashes. You had the lunar eclipse there in this house of transformation. The eighth house could have been a very deep experience for you. But when I say deep, I also mean, I mean intense, and it might have been a little bit uncomfortable, but now you might feel this sense of a rebirth happening. And ultimately, this is like an internal thing, so keep that in mind. This isn't, but it could have, I suppose that it could affect you even physically. It's just a matter of how you were affected back in March or February, if it happened before the actual time of the eclipse. This could be like, sometimes secrets come out during eclipses. This could be finding out something about your partner's finances. Maybe they have been hiding something. Eclipses can bring secrets out. If they've been hiding something about their finances, that could come into the light of day. Um, but again, anything that you want to manifest that is eighth house related, on August 22nd, if you're listening before then or around there or just after that, that's the first one. That's the seeding point at 0 degrees of Virgo. So, set your intentions. This will tend to be around issues of regeneration, a new life, a new, transformation for your life as a whole. On the very next day, on the 22nd, Mars goes into Scorpio. And Scorpio is the ruler of that eighth house, so it's kind of funny. So Mars in Scorpio is your 10th house of career. So this could be some kind of fight with authority figures for whatever reason. If you have like the father or whoever was the more dominant parent, and that could come from that solar eclipse, by the way. You may see yourself in a new light, pardon the pun, where you are realizing that you have to assert yourself. Like, I don't see Mars as just like aggressive. I can see it as assertive. And maybe you have allowed other people to walk all over you in the guise of being very tolerant. And perhaps it has become more of where they are trying to take advantage of you in some way. And you have to kind of go, no, not going to happen. And be resolute about that. You might be raring to go business-wise. I mean, career-wise. You're just really ambitious. 10th house is the house of career. So keep that in mind. Don't step on the toes of authority figures in your quest to kind of really be successful. On the same day the sun goes into Libra, the sun is in that 9th house. And so you do have your attention on bigger things. Like, you might be ambitious about career, but you can see the bigger picture. And so that's really important, because that will inform your life in a lot better way than just merely being I'm going to just try to, be the CEO of this company by the time this year is over with. Because remember that you have Pluto in your sign, Aquarius, and that can give the person this power trip sometimes. So anyway, I hope you have a great month. And if you would like a private reading, I do astrology and the tarot. I do all kinds of readings. you can click on the link below for more information. Thanks for listening. Bye.